A Norfolk survivor of the Contaminated blood affair says the government needs to apologise for mass murder. She was speaking as the 4.5-year inquiry into the scandal came to an end in London. Steve Blower reports.
Michelle Tolley got Hep C from infected blood in a transfusion when she was 22. She's now 57. She and others infected gathered to see the end of the inquiry in London yesterday. She's now living with cirrhosis and runs a support group with 500 members. She says she wants a sincere apology and compensation for all of them, but she also fears that any recommendations from the inquiry could go the same way as those for Windrush and Hillsborough and be quietly forgotten. She told reporters, "We're being murdered."
A woman from Halifax whose father was a victim of the infected blood scandal says it's vital the public inquiry finally reveals the truth.
What they've done is appalling. There's so many people that have died.
Eileen's dad, Ted Burkert, was infected with HIV and Hep C when people were given contaminated blood by the NHS back in the 70s and 80s. She didn't know that until he died, though, at age 54.
We were told he'd had a stroke, but when we got to the hospital, we was told Dad was infected with HIV, and it was just a bombshell, really. We didn't have a clue. I don't know how he actually kept it from us.
Closing statements will be heard later today in the long-running inquiry.
It's the last day of public hearings into the infected blood scandal, where treatment for haemophilia led to people contracting viruses, including HIV. The final report's expected later this year. Richard Warwick, who lives near Scarborough, was infected with viruses, including HIV and hepatitis C, when he was at school in Hampshire, which had an NHS clinic for haemophiliacs.
It's impacted every aspect of my life, from trying to get a job, gaining employment, the stigma around it, not being able to have children in my case. It's just, it's impacted everything.
A widow from Manchester whose husband died after receiving contaminated blood says she hopes for an apology from the government. Louise Walmsley's husband Ray died in 2018 from kidney failure. She's been speaking to the BBC as the inquiry into the infected blood scandal hears its final evidence today.
It would make me feel that Ray's death is acknowledged. His death shouldn't have happened. He shouldn't have died at 53. So an apology is recognition of that. It will give me some sort of peace, and that's what I want.
The daughter of a Derby man who died from infected blood products says the public inquiry into the contaminated blood scandal is not the end of the story. The inquiry's heard that those affected have lived through the worst of times. Final evidence has been given today. An estimated 30,000 people were infected with HIV and hepatitis C in what's been described as the worst treatment disaster in NHS history. Katie Walford's dad, David, died in 1998.
There's still quite a lot of fight. The compensation not covering everybody, criminal sentencing, for example. The inquiry can't, say that, legally has to happen. That's all in government. So yes, not quite finished with the fight, but there's certainly levels where I can sort of breathe a little bit more, and I hope other people can as well.